There's so many people in the world that have been told they cannot do something and they did it, right? Because they can, but they had to think they could before they could, right? So if you think you can, then you definitely can. So that is the word I would take out, cannot.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Oh My Curry Goodness. My name is Hamza Islam, and on this podcast, I talk to Gen Zers from different fields about their story and how they became the person they are today. As someone who is Gen Z, one of the cool things about our generation is that we want to inspire people. We want to let them know that they are capable of doing something special, regardless of what background or obstacles that they've overcome. And when it comes to inspiring people, it's one thing to talk about all the great things that a person has done. And yeah, why not? But we also have to talk about the obstacles that they've overcome. And as I know that's a broad term, but obstacles are something that we as human beings have to continue to overcome every single day. And so I hope that you, as the listener, are inspired knowing that you are able to do something special regardless of who you are or what your background is, and also being okay for simply being known as a human being. Because all these people that I've interviewed, and I'm assuming most of my audience, we are all human beings. And so it's important to be able to be as authentic, honest, and vulnerable as possible. So I hope you guys continue to just do something special and also being okay to just talk about yourself in a honest way. Now, my guest this week is Fikayo Aderoju, who is the founder and executive director of Project Impact Lives, whose mission is to help homeless individuals in need. His organization has provided over 1,500 winter care packages to people facing homelessness, created scholarship funds, and organized toy drives and distribute food to the community. His impact has been recognized through various awards and accomplishments, such as being a Diana Award recipient for 2023. Through all his success, there's one thing that drives him the most, which is his mission is to inspire others to take action and make a greater impact in their communities, families, and societies. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation because, yes, he's had a lot of success, but his mission is still the same to continue inspiring people. So, Fikayo Aderoju, thank you so much for joining Oh My Curry Goodness.
Thank you so much for having me. Truly, I'm excited for this conversation. And hi, listeners.
Thank you so much for joining. And when I first met you, one of the things that really stuck out is how you want to is that it's that inspiration, right? Inspiring people to do something special. And one of the things I want to talk about is the importance of value. Specifically, and I know as it's a broad term, but what do you hope to gain out of it? And I know sometimes it's difficult because it's in the moment, but I would love to know like who taught you the importance of value and why it is important to you. And I'll give you an example. A this may not make all the most sense, but it's still something that I think of. So, playing video games. I love playing FIFA. It's one of my favorite video game series. But sometimes, like one of the things I want to ask myself is how will I feel after playing? Do I feel energetic? Do I feel inspired? Or do I feel the same? And I don't want to ever feel that sense of regret, like, oh, I should have used that time wisely, because time is precious. You can't take that back. So I want to ask you, like, who taught you the importance of value? And I know I probably may have answered this question, but I still want to know from your perspective, why is value important to people?
So, for me, to be honest, who taught me the importance of value? I would say it was God, honestly, because like I look at life and I look at a lot of things going on, and I say at the end of it, will this matter? Right? Like, so that's why we even started distributing packages, because it's like, what impact are you leaving the world? Like, what change are you making? How are you helping other people's lives to become better? Right? Like, how are you actually helping people? Right? So by the time I started realizing that if you focus on how can I get this and how can I get that, you're not really helping people. When it's all said and done, you're not going to be here forever, right? I was discussing with my friends in the car yesterday, and we're looking at what age is the longest age that a person has lived on Earth, and it's 969 years, right? And that was Methuselah, and that was like decades and like thousands of years ago. And the lifespan, the highest lifespan right now is 120 years, right? And I looked at it that if you live 120 years compared to 969, that's so that's not even up to quarter. Do you get what I'm saying? So that means that like your time on earth is not like super, super long. So you have to make it as impactful as you need to, right? Like you have to be looking at impact as opposed to something short term, right? So different occurrences happen, and that made me go, yo, like I need to go after it's all said and done. What impact are you leaving in the world? And that's what made me start really thinking about, okay, like I need to be delivering impact. But another thing is that like God tells us that we're not on this earth for ourselves, to be honest, right? Like so in terms of value and why it's so important to me is, to be honest, I think about like legacy when it's all said and done. Like what is it that you've left for other people, right? Because that's what it's really all about. I try to live my life I am I am 90 and you're looking back, because you don't want to be 20 something and then while away all your time now, and then when it's time and you're like 50 something and stuff like that, you realize, oh my god, I didn't make as much impact as I could have, right? Just like what you said about FIFA, right? Like, yeah, I play FIFA sometimes, but the opportunity cost, is it worth it, right? So to be honest, anytime I play FIFA, it's really um at my friend's house. I try to not have it in my house so it doesn't distract me.
For
So
sure. Oh, no, go. I'm sorry. Were you gonna say something?
no, no, it's fine.
Oh,
It's fine.
yeah, and it's so funny. So I want to talk about faith later because I think what you said was interesting. But there, when it comes to like when you talked about how you want to live your life as if you're 90, you like the worst thing you could possibly say is go, I should have done this, right?
Exactly.
When I play FIFA, the amount of times where I've said I should have done something else, it's like it's embarrassing because I think so many of us care so much about the short term satisfaction as opposed to the long term satisfaction. So, people always say start something as early as possible. Don't try to don't ask yourself too many questions. Just start right now because you don't want to be in a situation where you look back and you go, if only I'd done that. Because we can't create a time machine. We can't get back that time. And so now we're living in regret. And I've listened to a couple of podcasts lately where they talk about it's okay. It's one thing to make mistakes. Mistakes are common, but regret is a completely different situation. You don't ever want to do that because now you can't take back that moment. And obviously that depends on so many factors, but I mean, for me, the amount of times I played FIFA, I could have used it for something else, whether it's to learn a new skill, whether to work on how to be a better interviewer or something. But the moment you regret it, it's like you can't take that moment back. And then
Yeah,
oh, go ahead, go
sorry
ahead.
to cut you in on that. Here's one thing I do want to add to that. But now you can be an inspiration to other people, because there's so many people playing FIFA right now as opposed to doing other things. And then you can say, I used to play FIFA for 15 hours and I would only spend 3 hours doing work. Now I play for three and I spend 10 hours doing work. Do you get what I'm saying? You can now help inspire other people. That's how inspiration is. If you don't have a story, you can't inspire anybody because nobody can relate to what you've been through or your experiences, right? So that's why pain is a gift because it is from those occurrences, it's from your story that you can pull lessons out of, and then it becomes a message. So your mess becomes a message from the mess you were in or from the occurrences you've been through. So you could inspire people and let them know, yes, you could play FIFA and also, do amazing things, but you just can't play for 15 hours.
Well, okay, I'll say this. I didn't play for 15 hours, but I will play at times where I'll play for like maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half, but that hour and a half would have been like maybe was that the right time? That kind of thing. It's not like I played for a long time, it's that I played at the right time. But there was something else you talked about, which is faith. And I think so. I am Muslim, so I don't relate to you too much in this, but I do find that like I think one thing that faith teaches us is purpose, right? What are you here for?
Facts.
And the easiest answer is to make something beneficial to your community, to your society, to whatever group you're serving. And I'm not saying, I mean, I know everyone has their different interpretations when it comes to religion. Not everyone
Mhm,
is for religion, but what I
mhm,
find that when you spend time with the religion that you believe in, they
mhm.
really do focus on purpose, and it's not about you. It's about other people. How do you make
Exactly.
other people's day better? How do you do other things for? What do you do that's making everyone else better? And
Service. It's about
service,
service.
exactly.
How to
And
serve other people.
it's difficult because people's interpretations of good are different, but
Mhm,
that's what we are here for, which is service. What are we doing so that we're impacting someone's life? We could be the best, we could be as close to our religion as possible. You could read the Bible, you could read the Quran. Um, I think it's for people who practice Judaism. I think it's Torah. I could be mistaken.
mhm,
You can be as close to your religion and know every single thing about the religion, but what are you doing to impact someone's day? And if you're
mhm,
not doing that, then you're not being the best version of yourself. So I think
mhm,
faith, while it's great to practice as much as possible, it also allows you to really think about what you want to be remembered by and what are you going to do to make someone's day
mhm.
1% better. That's what my dad says, make someone's day 1% better. And yeah, that's what I really learned about faith is just the idea of service while also following those traditional practices.
Yep, I completely agree with you. The scriptures say the first shall be the last, and that pretty much means if you want to be the first, you have to serve the most, right? And same thing as what leadership means. Leadership is all about um you serving the most. Leadership is about serving the team you are leading. That's what leadership is about. So yeah, like it's all about service, serving your community, serving on a bigger scale. So yeah.
That's actually how I want to talk about the next topic, which is when you're helping people is not. It's funny, I spoke with another guest and previously, and we talked about how helping people is not the easiest thing to do because you have your interpretation of how you help people, but then the people that you're helping might have a different perspective or interpretation. And when I was looking up getting to know you, I saw that through your organization Project Impact Lives, how you had an idea of helping homeless people or people who are homeless, but then they were like, this isn't exactly what I need. I appreciate you for trying, but this isn't what I need at the moment. And I do want to talk about the organization later, but I want to ask you, how stressed or anxious do you get when helping people? Because here's the thing, I think most people have good intentions. And the closer you are to your faith, the better it is in terms of like purpose. But then the act or like what you're trying to do can sometimes be the most difficult question. So for you, I mean, I don't have an organization. I just have a podcast. But
Mhm.
When someone asks me to do something, I get super stressed because I want to make sure that I get everything right
Mhm.
100% of the time. Even as simple as, can you get me a glass of water? I'm thinking, does it have to be cold? Does it have to be hot? Does it have to be how does it have to be how full? Three quarters, what does that look like? For you, when you're helping people as you continue today, I'm sure,
Mhm.
how anxious or stressed out do you get?
I do not get stressed or anxious helping people now. Now, to be very fair, when I first started, I I just focused on actually helping people. Like that was the most important thing. It was how can I actually help people, right? And it was just to go on the streets and start helping people. Like it was like, okay, these people are going through this situation. Let's see how we could come in and help, right? Now we've been doing it for about 4 years. So it's still focusing on the issue. But when I first started, for sure, you're like, okay, how can I help people? But you're like, okay, oh my God, how do I go up to this person that doesn't know me and I don't know and say, do you want this? And like, you're just like, and it's talking to like, someone you don't know. You're like, oh my God, what if they slap me? Like, like, you don't know what could happen, right? But now you learn through experience and you know how to speak to people and you're like, hi, would you like this? And you know the products that people even like. And because of your track record and you've been doing this for a while, you get to build the skill of just talking to people, right? So when you first start, yeah, that you may be anxious, you may be like nervous, but the more you do it, the more you just get used to it and you know how to do it. So the thing though is that a lot of people um don't do it enough. That's just the truth, right? Like they don't, like they do it once in a while, which you don't really get the skill, right? If you keep on, it's just how I think about it is if you go to the gym every single day, right? You're probably gonna be ripped. And if you do, your diet and things like that, right? You're going to see the results. If you go every 6 months, yes, you're doing it, but you just wouldn't see the same results as someone doing it every single day or every week, right? So that's the same thing with helping people. Helping people doesn't necessarily mean distributing stuff on the streets. Helping people doesn't necessarily mean um giving money even. Helping people could be donating your time. It could be helping a first year student as a fourth year student. It could be showing people directions. It could be volunteering at the soup kitchen, volunteering at the homeless shelter, volunteering at the mosque in a church. That's helping people. Helping people could be buying someone McDonald's that is homeless. Some helping people could be someone giving $2 for someone's bus ride, right? Like that's helping people. Helping people could be being there for your friend when they're going through a mental health challenge. Like helping people could be talking to someone that is going through a bad day on the train. Helping people is donating your clothing. Helping people is donating your furniture that you no longer use. Helping people is very in different circumstances. It's not just a cut crease approach, right? So there are different ways of helping people, and people just need to not look at this is the only way I could help people. You should constantly be looking at ways you could just be a helping hand to someone, right? And just always ask people, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And that makes you learn new skills and it makes you be an asset instead of a liability to people. And you get to make new friends as well, which is an added bonus. So yeah.
I was gonna say, and maybe it may not make sense, but it's like you should always have the mindset as the student, in the sense that
Yep.
there's like the student and the teacher, and I'm not saying teachers are bad, but it's like sometimes teachers will say this is how you do X, Y, and Z. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about it more as like a student, like you should always be the one to learn. not be the person that goes, we need to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, and you just mentioned, right? How can I help you? What can I do? And it is really important, right? Experience, um, showing up, showing up consistently, and as opposed to doing it every once in a while. There's differences, but when you show up, yes, you're gonna have mistakes, but you're gonna learn from them. And if you were to ask me what's the difference between making mistakes and regretting, mistakes is something that you do short term.
Mm,
Regret is something you do long term. Regret is something where you look back and you go, "Oh, I can't believe I did this." Right? I
mm,
could have used that time wisely. When you're
mm,
making mistakes, yeah, it's not the best thing in the world at the heat of the moment, but you can go back and say, "You know what? I know what to do now because I did this and it didn't work." And I know, like you mentioned, when I saw your story, how when you first started, people weren't understanding what you were doing, but then after
exactly.
research,
Mhm,
you
mhm,
found what you're doing, and so it is really important to like show up. Yes, you're going to make mistakes and that's not the
exactly.
best feeling. And
Mhm.
but you just got to show up for yourself. And I know there are going to be people that will make fun of you or insult you, but they don't know what you're doing. And
Yeah.
there's always that random person that's like, Fikayo, like when you were first starting out, Fikayo, oh my gosh, you're so bad at what you're doing. And it's like, what are you doing? I mean, I don't know. You get what I'm saying? So it's like
Okay.
it's better to be somewhere than nowhere. Even and I had another guest. She has her own organization where she focuses on the importance of sleep in around cultures, and she
Mhm,
says a step backward is better than no steps, because even if you took a step backward, you can now use that as, okay, what went wrong and how can I be better so I can take more steps forward than backwards, so that you have a net gain instead of like just stationary. So,
mhm,
there's so many things you said, and I think it's just so important to show up and learn,
mhm.
and you're gonna create change. So, and here's the
Show
thing,
up and learn. I love that. Show up and learn. Just show up, learn.
right?
Yeah,
And,
I like
and
that.
that's the only thing you can gain or you can control, right? You can't control everything else, but you can control how you're feeling and what you can do at this moment. And here's the thing, I know that one of the things you talked about was faith, and I can guarantee you, I'm 99.999% sure that you had at least one person that helped you throughout your journey. And I'm sure you've had mentors in your life and you've asked
Oh, yeah.
questions. When you ever needed help, you asked someone or a group of people, "Hey, how can I make this better?" I want to ask you, as someone who has both asked questions and also I'm sure has answered questions as well, because people look up to you for inspiration, which do you think, like, what do you think is more difficult, asking for help or getting the chance to help someone? Which one do you think is more difficult and why?
Asking for help because of the level of vulnerability, right? Because if I'm asking you for help, like if I need to understand a math problem, or if I need you to help me do this, I need to say, I don't know how to do this. And that is a level of vulnerability that you have to be comfortable with. So asking for help, definitely, at least for me, is something that I do a lot, but it requires more of me. I love helping people because I just know it's good service and I know the benefits of helping people. They're tremendous, right? Uh, but asking for help, it takes a level of vulnerability. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be open. If I need help finding, I don't know, a house, I need to say, I don't know where I'm going to be staying. I need to say, I don't know how to find one and I need your help. And that may not be the easiest thing to do, right? Because you would love to know how to find one and you would love to know how to, do things, right? But if you don't know how to do things, asking people to help you do those things may be pretty difficult in terms of vulnerability, like just opening up yourself. But I've started to learn that vulnerability is strength. Started to learn that vulnerability is strength, right? And now I get help a lot, right? So even where I am right now, my friend helped me find it. The house I'm in right now, my friend helped me find it. And yeah, like I didn't find this place myself.
Well, firstly, congrats on the house. And it's really, I think it's really important to know that there's a difference between not knowing something and pretending to know something, but you really don't. And so it's so important to be able to understand that you are not perfect, because I understand that there are a lot of people that want to play the hero in the story,
Mhm.
right? They want to be the person that feels like they get everything right, but sometimes admitting you're wrong, and especially like you could contribute that to how you grew up, different cultures, saying that you don't know is probably the best solution. And even if people don't like that answer, they will not like the answer where you give them the wrong answer, right? No, sometimes not knowing the answer is better than the wrong answer.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's really, I think what you said is really difficult, and they're both difficult places to be in. Asking for help and then helping someone because you want to make their day better, but then asking for help like personally, and my experience, like, so I told you this, I'm a student in college, and sometimes people will say, you might need to stop asking questions because you're becoming a pest. And it's like, well, then how do I figure this out? Right? Because you don't want to be in a situation later on where you're like, okay, I'm doing it this way. And then they're like, why didn't you just ask questions? Because this is wrong. And it's like, because you called me a pest. So that's why, like, you're wondering about what people will think of you. But I think this is just one of those situations where you just have to ask yourself, like, again, value. How will I feel after? Will I feel better if I didn't ask the question or not? Or will I feel better if I ask the question or not? And this is a matter of you, regardless of what people say. It's super important to know that you need to think about how your future self or how you're going to feel in the future. I don't know if that made sense, but that's just how I see things. And I think vulnerability and saying that you don't know, while it can hurt, it's going to be better for you in the long term.
There's a few things I want to add. First one is you never want to be around someone that actually thinks you're a pest or acts like you are a pest. And if you feel or if you notice that someone is giving you that vibe of you're a pest, just do yourself the favor and go to someone that actually values you, because trust me, there are people out there, right? And even for mentors, right, like you want to have a mentor not with the best results, but a mentor that actually cares about you as an individual. You don't want someone that has the best result. I have people around me that are have the best results and they're phenomenal, they're legends in business, but they're not my mentors. They could be your sponsors though. And your sponsors are in rooms that you're not in, and they could open the door for you that you may not have access to. But your mentor is someone that, you know, helps you from a day-to-day, perspective, right? But also is looking out for you and wants to help you and wants to help you succeed. And just to touch up on something you said earlier as well, you said it's okay to say I don't know, but don't just say I don't know. Say I don't know, but I'm willing to learn, because that helps. Every single time I speak to someone and they say I don't know, but if they say I don't know and I'm willing to learn, I'm like, wow, okay, this person is willing to learn. But if you say I don't know, that's it, then nobody nobody likes that. Um, Another thing is, don't just try to help. You could also try to connect people. So someone comes to me with an issue, I may not have the answers, but I may know someone that could potentially have the answers. So I could connect with them and I become a connector. And this is something I enjoy doing a lot, because I definitely don't have the answers for everything or for a good number of things, right? So I connect people in my network with them that could help them more. So those are some of the things I wanted to touch up on.
Yeah. And I think it's, it's hard. You have to figure out, like, obviously everyone is a human being, right? So they
Right.
might be going through some things, but at the same time, you shouldn't just berate them because they don't know. Like if I'm asking someone for help and they're saying, "Why are you reaching out to me? I'm going through this." Well, okay, fair enough, but it's like, why are you assuming that I knew that you were going through this? Right? Like I don't know what you're going through, but now that I know, okay, maybe it's time to find someone else. And it's okay to let someone know that you may not be the right person to reach
Exactly.
out to. But I think sometimes in my college, it's like, why are you reaching out to me? You know I'm busy, and it's like, I don't know you're busy. I just met you, or I don't know if you're busy. Maybe you are just trying to ignore me, or I don't know. I don't know what's going on in your life. It's not that I don't care. It's just that I don't know. So and I'm glad you brought that up. Like I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. So it's almost like, look, I don't know what's going on. I hope you're doing well. I just want to know who the right person to reach out to is. I understand that you might not be the right person, but can you at least guide me or help me
Connect
in any
me.
way? But
Hmm.
too many times people go, and I don't know if I talked about this in my podcast. Maybe said it to you when I first met you, but it's like genie and it's like the genie in Aladdin, where it's like after 3 or 4 times, a person's just done talking to me, and I'm like, why is this all of a Disney movie? Why is this a Disney movie all of a sudden? So, it is really hard, but that's why it's really important to find people who value personal human connection and they're willing to help you
Hmm.
without anything in return, which I know can be difficult if you're the helper, but you know, we need more people that understand that people need help and they're not using it to bother you. It's just that because they really value you as a person. And I just don't think we see enough of that. So that's
Hmm.
just my little spiel.
That's fair. That's fair.
Um, I do want to talk about your organization, but one of the things that really stuck out to me because I saw you as someone who would give back to your community, and I love that. But also, I want to talk about being a model because, or I think, I guess you were in the modeling field,
Hmm.
and it's weird because again, I don't know how you grew up or what kind of like what your culture, how your cultures view certain things like modeling. But like if you told people, like if I, as someone who's South Asian, if I told my South Asian community, not my parents would be supportive of everything I do. But there are those extreme like people in your community where it's like you need to be a doctor, engineer, lawyer,
Hmm.
anything else, you're a failure. If I told people I was a model, they would lose their minds, be like, what kind of kid is this? Like, who have they become? You know, your parents should be ashamed of you. I know that, it's not just South Asian communities. I'm sure anywhere
Hmm.
you go, you'll have those people that will define success by your profession. And I mean, obviously, you know this better than anyone else because let's be honest, they probably never heard of this, so they're doing this out of fear as opposed to logic. But
Hmm.
I do want to ask because I do feel that, and you mentioned right, like when I was playing FIFA, there's an experience you can take out of this, and you can learn and teach people how to do things the right way.
Hmm.
As a mod or as someone who got into modeling, what are some things you learned about modeling that helped you in your personal development? Because
Hmm.
I still think that even as a model, sure, it's not a lawyer, engineer, or
Hmm.
you're going to change the world, but I'm sure there are models that do change the world and whatever that may be. What are some things you learned as a model that you feel like has helped you from a personal development?
So for me, I still model, right? I still model, um, and I just don't say, okay, like I model for this brand or this brand or that brand. But every single day, I take pictures, right? So like yesterday, I was hosting a red carpet for an event, and I took pictures there. And the day before, I was at Wonderland, and I took pictures out at Canada's Wonderland, which is an amusement park. And then every single day, like even at corporate events, you take pictures. Everybody takes pictures. And then when you're taking pictures, you're required to pose, right? And that's one thing I looked at, that I've learned the skill of posing. I've learned the skill of posing, which is very important. A lot of people take pictures and they don't come out great because they don't know how to pose in the picture. But I know how to pose in a picture. I know how to get comfortable in front of the camera because I was modeling for quite a while, right? So those are the things took from it, right? Like I'm comfortable in front of the camera, like I know how to pose, things like that. It made me confident in myself as well, right? So that is something that I took from modeling. And modeling, I still do it till today because it's something I actually enjoy, right? Like I like taking pictures, right? Like I love fashion. I like dressing up, things like that. So like it's a part of who I am. So and I always told people I'm more than a model. So even when I was modeling, I was always telling people that like it's so modeling is something I do. It's not who I am. Like it's something that it's like a skill. Like if you can code, like yeah, they could call you a coder, but it's something you can do. If you can do marketing, yeah, they could call you a marketer, but it's something you can do. So you could be a marketer and be a coder and be a model all at the same time. So it's these are just skills you have. And that's the way I looked at modeling. Like it's a skill I have. I could walk on the runway and I could lead the board of executives at a company, right? Like like you could do both of these things. And I always looked at it that I could walk on the runway of a fashion company, but I also want to be able to be on the board of executives of the fashion company and be making strategic decisions because I know I can do that, right? Like I know I could be a good executive, right? And also be good in front of the camera, right? Because it's just something I enjoy doing. I enjoy doing both. I like business and I like fashion, right? So that's the way I've looked at it. And it's interest, right? I have interest in it and I still have interest in it. And some people like sewing, some people like baking, some people like cooking, and I like taking pictures and fashion and styling and modeling and things like that. So it's interest, and I had interest in it back then, and I still have interest in it now. But I don't model as much now, but I still take pictures literally almost every day. Like this when I go for events and so yeah.
Yeah, I think posing is when I think of posing, it's about presentability, right?
Mhm.
Because how you pose and how you take pictures can really help increase the value of something, right? Because if you show up not caring, no one's gonna care. But if you
Mhm.
show up in the best way possible, sure, it may not resonate with everybody, but it can resonate with some people and they'll find that interest, right? Like photography is a lot like art. And I know like it's funny because I've been to a couple of weddings recently and my dad will be like, take a picture. Like, okay, I'm gonna take the picture, but I need you to pose like this. And I'm like, why are you doing this? But then I thought, oh, now I know why. Because look at how the end product looks, and it's in large part because of how you took pictures. And that's it's really I never thought of it that way. Like for a long time, it's just like, okay, someone who's just taking pictures, but you don't realize the impact of something simple until you see the end product. And the end product is in large
Mhm.
part, it doesn't always have to be the craziest, fanciest thing. It can just be as simple as doing something or just like it can be as simple as not shoulder or crossing your shoulders. Yeah, not crossing your shoulders, right? Because that shows that you don't care. But if you pose in a way that is interesting, you'll interest someone. And you talked about how you have a passion for fashion, and one of the things I really loved about you when I first heard about you is how fashionable you are. Like I remember meeting you, and I'm like, wow, this guy's very, very like interested in fashion, and I'm trying to work on trying to be the best fashionable I can be. Right? Like fashion to me used to be just wearing a soccer jersey. Still to this day, I wear soccer jerseys, but I mean, now as I get older, it's less about soccer jerseys and it's more about other things that you're wearing, right? Like how do you try to be the best person possible because it's all about presentability. What for you, what is it about fashion that means so much to you? Do you feel like it's more about like it's something that fashion was able to unlock something that you probably didn't have before? Was it something about presentability, like kind of what we talked about? What is it about fashion that really means so much to you? Like why does it play a big factor in you?
To be honest, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good. Like even now, I I wish I was wearing a hat. I have my hat up there, right? And I wish I was wearing it. Actually, I'll probably put it on right now. Yeah, like it makes me feel good. So the hat is cream as well, right? Cream hat, cream jacket, cream suits, and cream shirt, right? Like it's all about being put together, right? Like I like it. What is it about fashion that you just love so much? To be honest, I got into fashion through my dad because I saw that in him. And I think I've taken it to a whole new level. But dad, sorry. But yeah, like he definitely, put that seed in me. Like he wouldn't let me go to school without my clothes being ironed and my shoes being taken care of and cleaned and things like that. Like just be like, you're gonna have to stay home, buddy. Right. And I was like, bruh, I'm not staying home. So I have to, look good. And they used to call me Ficky Versace in school because I loved in high school, right? Like, and I won the neatest boy award in high school, right? So it was just so surreal. That was the first award I ever won uh in high school. And like so like my dad just put that seed of like just look good, dress well, and decided to take it to heart, and it's part of me now. Like I love looking good. Like I just love it. I can't, you know, I always want to look very, very good. I've always said it. I want to always look like very, very good to the best of my ability. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, well, you look amazing with that. I gotta
Thank you.
say. And yeah, and I remember seeing it, and I'm just like, I knew that you were very fashionable, but I didn't know that when I saw about the modeling thing, I was like, it makes sense. Now, granted, there are a lot of people that are fashionable but don't get into modeling, but there's always this like slight feeling that maybe they are. And just
Mm,
seeing like how you're presenting yourself is really cool to see. And I think again, like presentability is so important because how you pose, what are you wearing, and
mm,
again, best of your ability is important because not everyone has the same level of the same, I guess, opportunities for lack of a better term. But at the same time, you know, when you do have that chance, make sure you are able to give the best version of you so that people are people know who you are. But that's actually something I do want to know because you also focus on authenticity. How much do you ever feel like how like do you ever let how much is, I guess let's put it, let me put it this way, how much does authenticity play into your fashion? Because yes, being fashionable, being the most fashionable person possible and for people to like you is one thing, but
mhm.
you don't want to put a mask on where you go, I am this, but then in reality you're this. So how much does authenticity play a part, or do you feel like it may not resonate with you in that space or in that case, despite your interest or despite that being something that means a lot to you?
Authenticity, I would say I live and breathe that because it just makes my life easier, to be honest. Right? Like I don't have to put up a front, right? Like I stay in a one room, one tiny room right now, even as I speak to you, right? And that's my truth. That's the truth. I don't want to. Some people may think I stay in a huge mansion and things like I don't want to live a fake life because I just feel Why fake what can be real, right? Like you still will become, what that rich and mansion or what all those things, right? But just live your truth, right? And trust the process and trust God through the process, right? Because you would become all those things, right? So why not just be authentic, right? And the thing is that I do a lot of things that I'm passionate about, right? So if I'm passionate about helping people, you know, facing homelessness, then like I would pour my time, invest my energy, resources into those things. Passionate about helping people through different issues. Like I'll invest my time and energy and resources into those things, right? So is authenticity because it just allows you to live a stress-free life. It allows you to live a it does it you don't imagine waking up from the bed and be like, okay, what character am I playing today? Okay, yeah, let's switch in. No, like you get to just be yourself, right? Like you're not playing a character, you're just yourself. Like this is you in your truest form, right? So even my accent, like you could tell I'm Nigerian. I don't try to form or, and I still got that comment last week, right? Like, cause, and people even appreciate me for that now. And they too, and I tell them, you could speak how you normally speak, right? Like, you don't need to try and speak a certain way. So this and that and that. Be yourself, like fully. Is lean into who you are because that's where the uniqueness is. That's where your light shines because people actually like you for who you are, and not everyone is going to like that, right? Not everyone is going to like you, right? And that's fine. Do you know why? Because you don't even like everyone else, right? So why would you expect every single person to like you, right? So if some people don't like your accent or some people don't like you, then that's completely fine. Embrace the people that do like you and move forward. But love everybody, right? But be careful and know the people you choose to, bring into your inner circle.
For sure. And especially like with even with when you're wearing clothes, I mean, it's one thing to be it's like you want to be the best, but you also want to be you. And
Exactly.
they can always they can being the best and being you, they don't always have to be different. They can be the same thing. Because there's so many things that you don't have, but you can't dwell on that. But you can focus on what do I have and then go
Mm-hmm.
from there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to now talk about your organization, Project Impact Lives, and I don't want to talk. I mean, I talked about in how when you first started, you had this idea of how to help people, but people didn't see it the same way. But then after doing research, you're able to have a better understanding. But I do want to ask because again, experiences mean so much. What were some of the things you found in common between modeling and your organization that you feel like that you kind of, or I guess let me put it this way: what are some things you learned from modeling that you felt like kind of helped you with your organization? Because even though they may be two completely different things on a spectrum, I still think there are some things you can, if we were to create like a Venn diagram, you can still find some similarities in the middle.
So number one is putting myself all in. Modeling, I was all in. I would model every single day, go for shoots, reach out to people. Same thing with PIL, every single day, all in. Like just the work ethic, like, and I never really saw it as work ethic. I just saw it as like just get it done. Like you have a goal, get it done. Like don't think about the hours. Just go all in, right? Um, Another thing is relationships. I learned dealing with people, navigating relationships, right? So I learned the power of relationships and I learned how having the right people around you and having the right team around you and having people that actually want you to succeed actually helps you a lot, right? So in modeling, I had quite a few people that were around me that we were all, modeling and encouraging each other. And even with the posts on social media, in person, for different shows, runways, things like that. Same thing with PIL. We was able to build the team, and God really sent people that were invested in the mission, right? And invested in our purpose and what we're trying to build. And so just having the right relationships and having the right team definitely was a good addition. So yeah, like those are two key things I would say that I learned from both relationships, having right relationships, and work ethic.
So I know we're not soccer players. I don't know if you're a big soccer fan, but what I will
I
say,
am. I support Manchester United. Now, I'm not a big soccer fan. I'm a soccer fan, but a passive soccer fan.
fair enough. But I think the one thing that you and I can definitely agree on is that you can have the best people around you, but they may not work. Like it may not be the chemistry may not work, right? So
Mm-hmm,
you can have all the best players of every single position, but if you don't have the players that fit in a specific system or a vision,
mm-hmm,
then it doesn't matter how many great players you have, you're not going to be successful. And so I think it's the same way when it comes to creating a business or with modeling, right? Connections are really important. The relationships you have with people and finding the right team, because finding the right people are not always easy. You can always find the most brilliant, but do they fit your vision? Do they want to see you succeed in the most authentic way, or do they want to create you into becoming someone you're not? And I think again, people's intentions are good, but at the same time, how do they want to execute that? And so, like, I have a team that helps me with my podcast, but look, for them, for a lot of these people, it's a learning process. There are still things that they're passionate about,
mm-hmm,
but there's still some things that like I'm still working on. But the one thing that really they really love about this podcast is let this person be a human being. Let the guest be as authentic and honest as possible. I could have the best people help me, but if they want to see my podcast go a direction that I don't want to take it,
mm-hmm,
then what's the point? So being able to
mm-hmm.
find the people that see your true intentions, and while change is a good thing, change is a good thing. You don't want change to, I guess, you don't want to change in a negative way. And I know that's a broad statement, but you don't want to be in a situation where they tell you to do things and then you look back and then regret, with almost a sense of regret, like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. Now I'm looking at this version of me and I don't know who this is. So I was talking about how, the best is, I forget what I was saying, but like finding the right people is often more better than finding the best people because you have to be around people that
Of
know who you really
course,
are. And that's difficult.
100%.
That's difficult.
It is. It is. I totally agree with you. Finding the right people. But I was saying earlier today that when you're building something, don't try and find people that are like, well, we could join this or we couldn't. No. Try and find people that are like, we really, really, really need to do this. Try and find people that you really, 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 really want this to come to life. Try and find people that connect with your mission, with the purpose of whatever you're building, because those people are there to make it succeed for sure, as opposed to those people that are like, because when those people come on, they start to encroach on the culture of whatever you're building, and they start discouraging other people that are already on the team, and they're like, this is looking a bit shaky. They start planting bad seeds. But when you find people that are really driven and really are purpose driven as well and want whatever you're building to succeed, right, and really do want it to succeed, then it makes all the world a difference.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, there are a couple of things I want to talk about. Firstly, I know I talked about in the introduction how you were the recipient of the Princess Diana Award, the most prestigious award for any young person. And for a lot of people, sometimes we do ask, we know we're doing something right, but we don't know, we just don't know. Like we feel like we are doing something right, but do we really know if we're doing something right? And so sometimes like people will think, well, the only way for me to know if I'm doing the right thing is if I get recognized. If I get the Princess Diana Award, I know that I'm doing right. I know I'm doing something right. And for a
Mm.
lot of people, the award can mean different things. But for you, I want to ask you, what is something that when it comes to your organization, Project Impact Lives, what is
Mhm.
something that I feel like protects you from the outside noise? Like, what is something like you kind of what's something that like, because people will say a lot of things. You will obviously have days where things don't go your way, but what is something that you kind of just like it? What is something that you think about or you do that really protects you from getting those outside noise, or just any negative thoughts? You get what I mean? Like
I
sometimes
love
as
that question.
podcasts, I was gonna
I
say like
really,
as
really do. I like that question a lot, actually.
oh, go ahead.
I really, really like that question. Okay, so I was telling one of the directors at PIL, right? Project Impact and Lives, where we're, walking on the street downtown Toronto. We had come to support another one of our directors that was having an event downtown. And we saw a couple of homeless people, right? And we were going to her car, and we saw one of them at the going into the elevator at the parking garage, and I was telling her this is why we do what we do. Like they need us. You can see you, and we're seeing so many people, and that is one of the things that protects me because you, on one end you're winning, all these awards and getting all these accolades and things like that. But you're also seeing that, like the people need you, right? Like there are people suffering, there are people going through issues. The job's not finished, right? Like the work is not done, and there are people that are going through situations right now, and they need your support, right? And I was telling her, and she was nodding her head. And those are the things that protect because the issue is very prevalent, right? The issue is very glaring. It's in your face, and you see it. And if you come downtown Toronto a lot, if you go downtown Hamilton, if you go Kitchener, if you go to a lot of cities, and a lot of cities in America as well, you see the issue, right? So that's one of the things that protects me of it's like I'm protects my mind space because it's like wow, like there's still so much more work to be done. And that's why this December we're doing at least 5,000 of these care packages by the grace of God, and we're trying to reach at least 5,000 people facing homelessness in Canada, right? And it's different cities in Ontario. Last year we did in uh, Toronto and Hamilton, we did 1,500 care packages, but we've seen the need is greater than ever right now, especially with the cost of inflation and with the cost of so many things going up. And we're like, wow, we need to step up and we need to support a whole lot more people. So we're looking at different partners, speaking with different organizations, and I'm even having a call this evening to speak to more people to see how they can come on board and support us so we can support at least 5,000 people facing homelessness in Canada.
There was there were four words that you said that I thought was really, really interesting. The need is greater. And the reason why I thought that was so important is because that alone protects you from all the potential outside noise. I think so many of us judge something based on numbers and recognition. And I know like I mean I'm just talking to people, right? Like I'm just I'm just interviewing people like you. But something that a friend of mine told me was, don't focus on the numbers or accolades or anything, just focus on the need. And he said, well, think of Martin Luther King Jr., one of the most prominent civil rights activists in the United States. His vision, his goal was to live in a world where people were treated equally regardless of the color of their skin. And when he was leading marches, he didn't look back and go, okay, how many people are here today How many people?
Facts.
One, two, three, four. Okay, looks like
Facts.
there's 10 people for this march. Or he wasn't going like, I mean, he was definitely looking for like, okay, can we raise awareness for this issue? But it was never about him. He never focused on awards. He never looked back and counted how many people were marching. He just thought, look, we need to tackle this issue because the need is greater. We want to live in a world where people are treated equally. It doesn't matter how many people are in this fight. It matters that we show up and we are in this fight together. And
Mm-hmm.
so, again, like I said, that has nothing to do with podcasting. But what I do think is that when it comes to our generation, focusing on more on impact rather than anything else,
Mm-hmm.
focusing on the fact that the need is greater and not looking back and looking at how many people are with you or just looking at, are people recognizing me? It's like, no, don't let people recognize you. Let people recognize you for the issue that you are trying to solve. And
Mm-hmm.
so I know we have a lot of selfish people in the world, but that's why it's really important to be around people who are unselfish and recognize that it's more than just me, it's something else.
Mm-hmm.
I lose with like how I will lose or fail if what I'm advocating for fails, not I fail if I fail.
Facts. Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
that's what I thought was really interesting, just because you said the need is greater, because I think focusing on your why and why you do the things is more important than just you as a person, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Hamza is speaking facts.
I'm trying. I'm trying. A couple of questions before I let you go. Firstly, you are someone who's very ambitious. You like challenges. You like learning. You got into modeling. You're still doing it to some extent. You still are the found. You're still a part of PIL. What are some things you want to do in the future? And again, I know there's so many things that you could do, but what are some things you really want to tackle? And again,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to regret. You can make mistakes, but you don't want to regret. So I do want to know, like, what is something you really want to do, but maybe haven't had the chance to yet?
I want to help people get jobs. I want to help people get jobs. I want to help people get jobs. So that's some things I'm thinking right now of. I'm seeing the unemployment rates really go up. And I'm thinking of how to actually empower people because with the care packages, you give out like maybe toothpaste, toothbrush, warm socks, warm gloves, emergency blankets, lip balm. But if you help that individual get a job, they don't need you anymore. They could go get their own toothpaste, toothbrush, emergency blankets, lip balm, and all that stuff, right? So you actually empower them, right? So I'm looking at how to really empower people, right? And my mom used to have empowerment expos, and she used to teach women in Nigeria skill acquisition, how to have different skills and start businesses, right? So I guess I'm taking after my mom a little bit, but yeah, like I am looking, that's what the future is looking at right now of how to actually help people get jobs, right? In the corporate space and also in different other spaces, but that's what the future looks like right now. And definitely to inspire people, continue inspiring people, encouraging people. I look at myself as the chief encouragement officer. Because yeah, like what you said earlier, I really want to help to show people that regardless of whoever you are and wherever you're from, you can achieve your dreams and become successful. So that's what the future is looking like right now.
I love that. And my last question, I was thinking about how to word this. So if I mess it up, we can cut it. But we talked about a lot of words today: value, impact, inspiration, learning. List goes on and on. If you could take one word out of the dictionary, like this word does not exist, it should never exist. To you, what would that word be and why?
Can't,
Can't. Why is
cannot,
that? Oh, cannot.
cannot,
Okay.
cannot. Yes, because that's a limitation, to be honest. That's a limitation, right? Like if your mind can conceive it, then you can achieve it. And this is not just motivational talk. right? But as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, right? Like if you really think that's who you are, if you really think this is what you're meant to do, if you really think you can climb Mount Everest, you can. Is it going to be hard? You bet it is. Is it going to be difficult? You bet it is. Is it going to take every single last strength you have? You sure is. But can you do it? You definitely can. It's all in the mind, right? So the cannot word, that's the word I would take out of the dictionary because it's simply not true, right? There's so many people in the world that have been told they cannot do something and they did it, right? Because they can, but they had to think they could before they could, right? So if you think you can, then you definitely can. So that is the word I would take out, cannot.
I love that. That look at you dropping amazing knowledge and pieces of advice. I could talk to you for hours, but wow, I know you are a very busy person. But I just want to say that was such a great way to end the podcast. But so, Fikayo, thank you so much for being able to share your story, share your words of wisdom, and just your love for inspiring people or inspiring people and helping people. We need to see more of that, and I'm glad that you're one of those people that are there. So thank you so much. I am at a loss for words because I was just like I knew this was going to be a great answer, but like the moment you said it, I was speechless. But seriously, thank you so much for joining the podcast and best of luck with everything that you do. And I hope that we get to meet in person.
Definitely. And thank you for having me. Honestly, I really appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with your audience. I really hope they've been able to pick at least one thing from this conversation. And yeah, I really hope we get to speak in person one day. And everyone and you should remember that the best is yet to come. And definitely keep on doing more episodes, keep on inspiring people, keep on encouraging people. Also want to tell you is that when people come to you one day and say, Hamza, I'm starting a podcast, I don't know what to do, please help them. Please show them the way. Please give them a chance, right? Because there have been times where people gave us a chance and it would be fantastic for you to pay it forward. So, yeah, that's the last thing I'll say.
I promise I will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. If you guys like what you saw, be sure to subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram at the OMCG Podcast for more information on guests, preview clips, and more. Please continue to support this podcast in the future, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next episode.